Welcome to the Public Health Initiative's Updates and Coordination Collaboration Education Session. My name is Jennifer Gillison with Kaufman & Associates, and we'll be assisting with the logistical support for the Zoom session. At the bottom of your screen is a Zoom menu bar. Here you will find the Q&A box. We encourage you to use this feature to submit any questions at any point during the meeting. We will leave time for Q&A after the presentations. Additionally, we ask that you select the speaker view option located at the top right side of your Zoom interface. This will allow you to see the speaker as they present or share information. If you need technical assistance during the session, please type the issue into the chat box and one of our techs will respond to you. Finally, please be aware that today's session is being recorded. Closed captioning is available by clicking the CC icon at the bottom of the screen. All phone and computer lines have been muted. I will now turn it over to Mickey Tripathi.
Great, thanks so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Mickey Tripathi, National Coordinator for Health Information Technology, and thank you so much for joining today. Really excited for this public health session that you're about to see. I just thought I would take a minute or two just to give an overall framing for what you're about to see, and just more generally, just about ONC and our role with public health. We've been working really closely with the CDC and the public health community over the last year on a variety of initiatives, all pointed toward helping to improve our public health infrastructure across the country. And from an ONC perspective, we've basically been looking at what are all the things that we do, what are all the levers that we have, and how do we try to bring those together to help the public health community better be able to serve its public health mission and perform its public health activities, which, as we know, have always been incredibly important, but are even more important now in the times that we're in with the pandemic. So what you're going to see is a number of initiatives that we're working on directly in the community. So the Pulse Initiative related to emergency response, the STARHI Program, where we're really privileged and excited about the different HIE programs we're able to work with across the country on public health initiatives, and the FIT program, the Public Health Information and Technology Program, which is a workforce development program where we're working with minority serving institutions across the country to train and place 4,000 plus individuals in public health career tracks across the country. So it's obviously there's a greater need than that, but we want to be able to do our part to try to help to bolster the public health workforce, and through all those other community-oriented initiatives, do everything we can to work out in the communities to help to sort of build our human capacity as well as our technical infrastructure to be able to have us all have a better public health infrastructure and resource going forward. The other things that we're going to talk about, and that I just wanted to point to, because they all are really key initiatives that all come together to help to support sort of the public health community, are one, the US CDI Plus program. So that's an initiative that we're working on with different federal partners, in this case with the CDC and the public health community, to take a look at, how do we build from the US CDI, which is if you're not familiar with that, the US CDI is a standard promulgated by ONC, the US Core Data for Interoperability, which is kind of a minimum standard data set that's required to be available for interoperability in all certified systems deployed across the country. And as many of you may know, certified EHR systems cover 95% of hospitals and over 80% of ambulatory provider settings across the country. So it really is, sort of in some ways the minimum data set of the healthcare delivery system. And with the US CDI Plus initiative, what we're working on with the CDC is to say, how do we build from that to try to create what we want, for the country, which is a nationwide public health data model. So something that can be uniform across the country with jurisdictional input, obviously, to be able to meet those needs, as well as CDC input, as well as input from the broader clinical delivery system to say, how do we build from that base that's already there, and then have something that can better serve our public health needs going forward. So that's active work that's that's underway now, and we're really excited about it, and really excited with the engagement that we've been able to have, and the support we've been able to provide to the public health community on that. And you'll hear more details on that. The second thing you're going to hear about is the fire accelerator, Helios, which we're also excited about, which for those of you who aren't familiar with fire accelerators, those are public-private partnerships where we work with the HL7 community, the standards organization, to try to identify fire types of, fire use cases, particular use cases where fire uniquely can help to, help us move forward in a way with respect to interoperability in a way that perhaps older standards weren't able to support. So there's a number of novel use cases that we can start to think about there, and we're just getting that launched. But we're really excited about the early engagement we've had from the community, and and looking at the candidate list that we have at a very high level. It's really exciting to kind of think about the different things we'll be able to do with that public-private partnership, and really just directly thinking about how the next generation standard, which is fire, can help us get to the next level of interoperability to directly support public health use cases. Two things that we're not going to talk about today, but I just wanted to tee up for you, just so you know that there's a number of things going on, with the CDC and with ONC. We are also we've just announced earlier this year the launch of TEFCA, the Trust Exchange Framework and Common Agreement, which is the nationwide governance, nationwide governance for network-to-network interoperability across the country. As many of you may know, there are nationwide networks as well as HIEs. You're going to be hearing about the STARHI HIEs as well. So we've got lots of networks across the country, but we still don't have kind of uniform governance across those to be able to have a single network of networks model for for a floor of interoperability that anyone can count on. Regardless of where they are in the country, regardless of which system they're using. And one of the things that from a federal government perspective and an ONC perspective is that's vitally important is that public health be a participant, a direct participant in those networks, to be able to better enable the integration of the clinical healthcare delivery system and our public health system, and to be able to enable the sort of more bi-directional exchange, the ability to have information flow from the clinical delivery system to serve our public health needs, but equally important, the ability to have public health information start to flow back to the clinical delivery system, so that providers have the best information available from the public health system to be able to better serve the needs of their patients as it relates to public health issues that we're facing. So we're really excited about that as well. And the last thing I'll just point to is we are directly supporting the CDC on its broader data modernization initiative as well, which is about thinking about how can we have more general purpose infrastructure using cloud-based capabilities that will allow everyone to be able to have easier mechanisms for getting public health information, be able to share public health information, to be able to manage and curate public health information in much easier ways than they're able to today, while still preserving local control. Vitally important that jurisdictions have local control of their information, and that's a core construct of our public health system. But we also think that there are ways that we can leverage cloud infrastructure to be able to get the benefits of scale that cloud infrastructure can provide, but also allow that local control for those jurisdictions who want to do that. So we're very excited about that work that's going on with the CDC as well, and really look forward to the session that you're just about to have. And as I said, thank you again for your participation. And let me turn it over to Ryan Argentieri from the ONC team.
Thank you so much, Mickey. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Ryan Argentieri. I'm the Deputy Director of the Office of Technology at ONC. I'm joined by some core team members, my counterpart, Elizabeth Myers from the Office of Policy, and then we have a few other team members who are here to help answer questions. And really what we want to do today is give you a quick update and a snapshot on some of the work that Mickey just mentioned. We also wanted to just plug and make sure everyone is aware. This is just a quick update, so there's, I'm sure, going to be a lot of questions, and anything that we don't cover today will be presenting most things or some additional things, and you'll hear more in more detail at our next set of public meetings scheduled for April 13th and 14th of this year. Those will be virtual, and you'll be getting information about that content and the topic areas we're going to cover very soon. So with that, thanks for being here. I already saw the question that I'm just going to quickly address before we dive in. We are going to talk today about the future state, but there is, including fire, there is a lot of work being done in the current state to deal with standards development work, including with HL7 and other partners specifically focused on public health. Those are issues and areas that we're going to cover in greater detail in April. So we hope to see you again there. And with that, we can, I think, get into the next slide. So Mickey went through this, so we'll just skip right through. Just to direct everyone, if you have questions, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A area of the Zoom call. And if you have any questions, otherwise you can just go ahead and put those in the chat. Next slide. So the ONC Pulse Initiative is something that hopefully many of you know about. It's been under development for just over 7 years. It's a great example of a public-private partnership that has been tested and tried and true in real-time emergency situations. And for us at ONC, it represents a lightweight data exchange, or data exchange light, for use in emergency response situations and circumstances. We're really grateful to our partners, EMI advisors, and the many others who have participated as subject matter experts or as pilot partners over the years. And we want to call out, really 2 important things here. One is that there is an open source set of code available currently for use by anyone who's interested in taking a look and giving that a go. And we also have a listening session scheduled for next week. And my colleague, Rachel Abbey, who is the lead from the policy team on this program, is going to go ahead and put the registration information in the chat. And we welcome anyone who's interested in learning more, who is not familiar with this work, to join us next week and to get up to date and up to speed on what's going on here and how they can get involved. Next slide. The STARHI program is also an Office of Policy. So Beth and her team and Elise Anthony, this is run by the Interoperability Division. So the same team who brought you TEFCA, who Mickey just mentioned, and those sessions are happening in parallel today. So if you missed anything, we'll make sure to get you in the chat also get instructions on how to get that information. But this is a small but mighty program in the sense that it's $5 million, might seem like a lot to some, but when you spread that across the country, it's a lot, but not in that sense when you think about the need. And we stood this program up really just to help shore up communities who maybe had a robust or a strong health information exchange in place, but to help bolster and create more robust relationships and partnerships between those organizations and their public health agency partners. We also wanted to make sure to address and provide additional resources to communities who had been disproportionately affected and impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and to use this program as a way to both improve the access to information needed to improve care outcomes and really save lives since the pandemic started, and also put in place solutions that have, since we started, have improved everything from electronic case reporting, lab reporting exchange, and immunization data exchange, which has been a particular area of focus, to overcoming health inequities and disparities. There's been a tremendous amount of great work that's been done here, a lot of resources available that we're happy to provide to anyone who's interested in trying to use these best practices in their own communities or corners of the country. But this is really something that we're proud of and really grateful to our team, ONC team, John Rancourt, Larry Jessup, Laverne Purley, and Tara Tessier for leading, and the partners and the HIEs themselves and the state and local health officials who were willing to raise their hands and say, let's try and figure this out. So with that, I'll just note here, if we go to the next slide, sorry, I should have advanced sooner. But this is a snapshot of each of the HIEs who are part of this awardee profile. As I said, you'll be hearing more about this work in greater detail in April. And we do have additional resources on our website. So we really encourage you to take a look at that information and send any questions or desire to learn more to our program team. Next slide. So the Public Health Informatics and Technology Workforce Development Program, or the FIT, as we affectionately call it, has really been a sign and a public and really tangible way to showcase and put a dollar amount around ONC's commitment to support the administration's desire to both build a more qualified and stronger public health workforce, but also to do that in a way that is very widely represented, make sure that we have wide representation of the different communities who represent our country. So whether it's a demographic, from a demographic perspective, background perspective, and just making sure to lift up those who have not always had the first opportunity to get the cutting edge information about whether it be public health or the computer science that is increasingly required to have a fully capable workforce to address really just what are becoming just complex needs. And what we've seen at ONC is that the more we work together and collaborate and showcase and surface the problems that we're having, the better and more quickly we can also find solutions. So that's part of what this program was designed to do. There are 10 awardees that were announced in September of 2021, and they represent a consortium. So each awardee is comprised of a consortium that has to include the academic institution, some participation from the state, local, or hyper-local health official. There are nonprofit clinical providers, so everyone from behavioral health providers to smaller community health organizations that are involved. And also just there needs to be some type of, as part of the consortium, someone with some informatics expertise. So we selected these awardees based on making sure that they needed to have someone who represented a minority serving institution, a historically Black college and university, Hispanic serving institutions, and Asian American and Native American Pacific Islander serving institutions. So as you see here, there's 10 states. There's really a little bit bigger reach than this that's represented. And we're just getting started. Sherilyn Pruitt and Maggie Wanis run this work, and they will be communicating more in the coming months as well about some of the impact and benefits, and also to surface and let you know about opportunities for your organizations to get involved, whether you want to host a student who has gone through one of these programs or get involved in some other way. We want to hear from you and want to make sure that we stay coordinated with other efforts and initiatives and subject matter experts who are also working in this area. So this is something we're coordinating and working closely with our colleagues and partners across HHS, so CDC, HRSA, and others. So look for more information on this as well. Next slide. So US CDI Plus is our newest program, and some of you, I know there's been a lot of questions. We've tried to be out and talk to as many of our public health partners, whether you're from an association or state and local health official. And of course, this is something that we're, from a public health perspective, working really closely with CDC on. But this program was born out of what we saw as a very clear desire and interest to take what is working really well from US CDI and extend those best practices and the transparency of that process to the needs of our federal partners. So right now, this program is specifically targeted at the jurisdiction of our federal partners within, primarily within HHS and their impacted partners or downstream users of or beneficiaries, or whether you're a data owner or you end up with the data. So that's where we're focused right now. This is still very much being developed and being refined, but we want to make sure to continue to provide you who are interested with updates and give you the opportunity when it makes sense to get involved. Next slide. So as I said, this at a glance, we're still in a discovery and a formation phase of the program. So forming the minimum viable product and refining as we go to a degree, but we're doing a great job so far with our early adopters. This is just a snapshot, and I just want to make a few points about some of the questions that have come through as it relates to US CDI version 2 and draft version 3, which again, not to keep plugging our other programs, and other sessions, but we have that session tomorrow afternoon at 3:45 p.m. Eastern. If you want to go and hear more about US CDI draft V3 and the relationship between these two programs, I would invite you to go and check out that session. But really, the goal is to harmonize data at the beginning of any type of exchange and program, and define and better understand what is required, how we can improve data quality up front, and what we can do early on and at the beginning of any type of new initiative. For example, FIRE and the FIRE accelerator. What can we be doing through, from a standards perspective to make sure that nothing is being missed, and some of the harder questions about what one state or local official might define, how they might define a data element or requirement may be different than in other areas. It's questions seemingly as basic as that to understanding what actually are the most important data elements that are needed to solve the really tough problems that public health officials have to deal with day in and day out and have been for years. So while this is new to ONC, and some of you may think, well, how are you going to use this to solve all the problems? We don't presuppose that this is a magic wand or any type of silver bullet solution, but we have found to date that just by starting to have the conversations and bringing everyone around the same table to talk about some of those challenges from the data perspective, that we are making progress. So I think we'll go to the next slide really quickly. Thank you so much. And thank you for anyone who's putting links in the chat. I really just want to say thank you for that. So just to recap, this is a currently work that we're doing exclusively with CDC and our state and local partners. While we expect to be able to provide updates soon, we are also trying to allow time and flexibility to make sure that those who are currently dealing with the pandemic and who are still very much burdened by trying to do their first job, which is respond to the needs of their communities, that we give more time than, for example, is currently possible in US CDI submission process. So we're extending the window, we're making sure that we are comprehensive, and it's about ensuring that the voices of all those who want to participate and lend their perspectives are heard, and also that we get to the most important needs from the data perspective, and then make sure to extend those findings and those learnings to the other work streams and initiatives that are going on. So Mickey already touched on this, but to make sure that this work helps support the success of the data modernization initiative and doesn't conflate or confuse or cause any type of added burden. As I said, I think that's an important point. And the last thing I'll say about this is we put this before the accelerator on purpose, because we are finding that the work that we're doing with US CDI Plus is really helping to lay the groundwork and the foundation for the Helios accelerator. So with that, next slide. Okay, great. So hopefully many of you have heard or maybe participated in some of the events in the last few weeks where this Helios Fire Accelerator for Public Health was officially kicked off. Again, this is very much a collaborative effort between dozens of important, whether you're CDC or ONC and our partners at HL7 who are running this program, or the many subject matter experts, interested parties, whoever you are, whether you're a clinician, a public health provider, or a public health official, we are relying on the crowdsourcing aspect that an accelerator affords us. So making sure that we can get information and feedback from as many people who are willing to participate. And we know from past accelerators, and of course, Mickey himself coming from Argonaut has been a great help in offering clarity as we rolled this out, that when we bring the private sector learnings to the public environment, that really incredible innovations can occur. And we're excited about some of the use cases that have been surfaced. I think we can go to the next slide. This is pretty much speaks for itself, but those use cases, the team, and we have some of our team members, the Helios leads represented here. So when we get into the Q&A, we're happy to get into the details. But again, as ONC is really proud to represent a transparent process by which we put out the information. This pertains to US CDI, US CDI Plus, and of course with the work that HL7 does from a standards development perspective. And if you are able to find the time in your busy schedules to offer input and feedback and get involved, then you have every opportunity to do so. So that structure is being formed and finalized now. We can go to the next slide. And membership is currently open. So this is not limited. This is just a short list of who might be interested in getting involved if this is new to you. And we are very much, I think the use cases, if today's still Wednesday, went live on the HL7 Confluence page this week. I think it was yesterday. And so that is a place where you can, I think that will go in the chat in just a minute, where you can go in and get familiar and get up to date on where things stand. And we can also provide the Helios, I believe it's Helios at hl7.org is the email address. So if anyone has a question, they need clarification, they want to get involved, they're not sure about the process or the governance model, whatever it is, there is no stupid question. Please get in touch with the program team. And especially next slide, there is a timeline here. I just want to make sure we walk through, but anyone is able to select the use case that will be available for feedback. And really the goal here is to combine a number of different technical resources to move things forward more quickly. We know from the past few months and really longer that a lot of at the state level, not everyone is ready for FHIR. So a lot of people are kind of saying, well, what do we do? How do we make this happen? And our position is that it's not as hard as it might seem, and you just gotta come and start learning and see how you can get involved. So please come and do that and help us shape the future of this program and the use case priorities that we roll out with, and that will happen next month. This is all ongoing. So sorry, Tom, next slide. So this is just a quick look at the timeline, very much in the throes of this work. But that said, you still have time to offer your feedback. So we're here today to, again, encourage you to do that. And with that, I will stop because I think I probably went over, and we can go ahead and get into the Q&A. So I'm gonna look at the Q&A really quickly. If you have asked a question, most of the questions that have gone into the Q&A chat have been answered. So I'm gonna go to the other chat. So
Ryan, I think that Beth wants to specifically
Beth, please
talk.
don't. Thank you.
Yep. Great. So while you're looking at those, because I had the chance to look at them while you were talking, it was like cheating there. I'm going to address a trend that's been going on in the chat and in the Q&A features with a little question about how policy and alignment works across federal agencies for US CDI and US CDI Plus. So this is something that we think is really important and that people don't always completely understand about what ONC's role is from a standards adoption point of view. Under the HITECH Act, we're sort of tasked with reviewing and analyzing standards on behalf of the Secretary, so on behalf of HHS. And it's specifically designed to be broader than the ONC certification program. So it says the certification program, but if you actually are a wonky nerd like me and like reading laws and regulations, you can actually see a sort of laundry list of all of the types of standards that we're supposed to be keeping an eye on and monitoring. And that's the type of thing that our Federal Advisory Committee is also tasked with in their interoperability standards priorities. So they actually have to go through and think about what priorities they want us to look at each year, and we sort of look at those broadly. That ability and that authority allows us to do things like create the US CDI in the first place. So sort of defining this standard of standards that, yes, it's aligned to US core and it works in fire, but as Ryan mentioned, it also is the CCDA. So that is the new standard that will be across the CCDA. It is also the baseline for TEFCA, which could be lots of different types of exchange. It is the baseline for what CMS is cross-referencing for payer APIs. So when they're making those requirements, it is promulgating by pointing straight to our regulation and our adoption of that standard. So in the same way that we have done that to try and create this baseline that can be used for lots of different purposes, that's the vision for US CDI Plus. So US CDI Plus gives us an opportunity to sort of begin advancing some of these use cases that may not have been that core center, may not have been the patient access piece at that point in time, so that we need to move further, right? So public health is one of them. Other things that we're taking a look at are quality. But in the public health sense, what's really important about this is we can adopt those US CDI Plus domains and regulation on behalf of HHS as well. So as they get developed, as they become mature, as we can get standards of standards and sort of catalogs of standards for the different public health use cases into that public health quality or US CDI Plus public health domain, we can adopt that in regulation and other entities can then use that. CMS could point to it for their promoting interoperability program public health measures. CDC could point to it if they wanted to for different purposes like grants or funding opportunities. We know that HRSA sometimes points to these things for some of their networks. So that's really what the policy goal is. It can have the same sort of regulatory pathways. And that does help to keep these things aligned, even as we version up the US CDI to new versions. The same thing can then also happen with US CDI Plus as it advances to new versions. As the public health domain, we might have a version 1. And that might include certain things that are sort of fairly obvious things that are really on our minds right now, but we may need to add to that over time as well. So we see this all as sort of part and parcel of that whole standards advancement process and a way to really accelerate the applicability of the content and vocabulary standards that are absolutely necessary for interoperability, no matter where they're being used or how they're being accessed, used, or exchanged. So it isn't just about fire, it's more broad. It's about this entire concept of making sure they're in systems, and then when it moves from place to place, they are usable in the system that's receiving it. So that's my plug that I was trying to catch in both the chat and the Q&A, and I'll pass back to Ryan for what questions you want to hit next.
Thanks, Beth. That was perfect. I think I just wanted to make the point that I know people have asked like who's involved, and we expected this question, but we, one of the reasons I think Mickey and the rest of our leadership team thought this program was important, even though it is new, is because it allows us the chance to try and work together to surface the most important data elements. And as Beth said, how that information is going to be exchanged. And currently ONC has the purview, and this specific US CDI Plus for public health is only pertinent to the systems and the patient health record, because that is where we have domain. But we know, and I think many of you here know and are currently experiencing, that as other information is being made available, we want to make sure that it's exchanged in the same way and that we don't end up having additional burden and additional complexity after we've made so much progress in other areas from the interoperability perspective. So we are finding and still very optimistic and excited about this work, because we think that it will, and I don't want to say we know, but we are here to, one of the reasons why we wanted to come back and, address these questions head on with you, all of you, is because if you have concerns, please let us know. But if we don't have the opportunity to talk together and collaborate, then we could, as Beth suggested, we could make decisions that may have unintended consequences. And we absolutely do not want to do that. And we think that that's the beauty of why we love health IT and standards work, because we are allowed to, in some ways, both accelerate and move quickly, but also take our time and make sure to be precise and accurate. So with that, I want to just see if there's anyone else from the ONC team. So Katie Tully and Rachel Abbey are also here, or with the Helios Accelerator. If there's any points, I'm fairly certain I missed a few things. So if there's anything anyone else wants to add or jump in with, give my colleagues a chance to do that now.
Thanks, Ryan. We're just really happy to have so much interest in this broader body of work. And for anyone who specifically is interested in making comments or suggesting additional use case for Helios, the link for how to do so is in the chat. And we're very interested in your thoughts and very interested in working collaboratively with you all on a tight set of use cases where there's strong interest in not just going through the implementation guide development process, but putting things into production. And this is a multi-sector alliance, and we very much welcome your participation. Thank you.
Thanks, Paula. And Paula, isn't it true that if the use cases will be iterating on the use cases that are selected initially, and that if someone doesn't have a chance or hasn't been able to provide a suggestion on a use case today, that's not to say that they won't have an opportunity to do so at a later date?
Yeah, yes, exactly. It's an ongoing process. This first process lasts for, I believe, 2 weeks. So there's ample time for people to be able to suggest new use cases. What's put out there now is just a starting point for discussion. We're not limiting ourselves to the ones that are listed there. They're ones that came up during listening sessions where others have reached out and have some degree of implementing. And so really it's a starting point for discussion.
Thanks, Paula. I'm going to address a question about coordination between accelerators, and then if others, Beth, I don't know if there's anything else I missed that we should come back to, but so the question came through from someone about whether ONC is going to work or is working to formally coordinate across accelerators to continue to support the mission. So the answer is yes, we do this internally at ONC. I think with Helios being launched, and certainly the some of the other accelerators, we're involved in varying degrees depending on the governance model. So that's an important point to make, that each, certainly those who are familiar, the governance models are different, but where the use case and the deployment of similar models from the whether it's use of our Inferno testing tools and platform, or the need to align about the content and process by which we're updating implementation guides with our partners and within the standards development organizations, HL7, IHE, and others. So we have a team, our standards team within the Office of Technology, led by Chris Muir, is really working and focused on that, and will be doing more work in that area this coming year. So again, if you have more questions, our email addresses are going to be made available, so you're all welcome to send us notes, but we also have on our healthit.gov website a health IT feedback system, who some of you might be very familiar with, others not so much. So send in your questions and feedback. In the meantime, I'm gonna take one more on from Ricky, Beth, and then if you want to jump in on anything, please go ahead, or Rachel and Katie, as I already said. But I think that we are very concerned and very focused on making sure to balance stakeholder input and needs. And we have worked to really come and have as many conversations as possible. And we will still working with our CDC colleagues and many of you who are here today. So thanks for being here and thanks for letting us come to your meetings and talk to you and answer questions. So if we haven't had a chance to have a smaller group discussion or to get into some of the details and answer your questions or hear your concerns, then we want to come and have those talks. So let's make sure to do that. And also I would note that they're perfect. We're trying to also balance the need to continue to keep going, and some of the early learnings have been that we're not seeing everything until we get started. So I think there's just going to continue to need to be a balancing act there. But I mean, everyone, I think a lot of you know that we try and be really responsive, and we will happily come and answer as many questions as you have. So Ricky, we can, and others who put things in the chat that I missed, we're happy to schedule some time to talk.
So I'm going to take a question from Chantal, and I'm going to start it with something that Chantal is very used to me saying, which is that I can't make a promise, but I'm gonna talk in future reg talk caveats, which is the question is, for those who maybe aren't looking at all of the questions in the Q&A, is will the US CDI Plus standards become part of ONC certification program? So those of you who are familiar with the policy hurdles that we have to dance around when we want to talk about what's going to happen in a future reg. You'll be familiar with me saying this first part, which is that obviously we can't make any promises about what's going to be in a future regulation. We have to think about those things and consider them and then go through the notice and comment process that is covered by the Administrative Procedure Act. All of that said, there are two major areas that we've been focusing on for the US CDI Plus as our starting point. And those are obviously public health, as we've mentioned here, and the other big one is quality. In both of these areas, there's already a lot of advancement in using technology for a wide range of use cases. Everybody knows the CMS use cases for quality, but there's also, HRSA has them, QCDRs have them. All of these electronic quality measures that would benefit from doing this type of work to get to content and vocabulary standards alignment, in the same way that we've been talking about the public health use cases here to try and figure out, as Mickey said at the beginning, sort of what is a core baseline that everybody can be using so that this data becomes more actionable, more timely, more interchangeable, easier to aggregate, all of these major goals that actually make addressing a public health emergency or even just the broad sweeping ongoing public health concerns much easier to address. So our goal is we already have certification criteria for those places. There's already advancement in those areas, is to think about what might be potential certification criteria or certification standards that we could consider in the future with an intent to potentially engage in rulemaking. Love saying things that way, that would allow us to have that modernization reflected in certified systems that are also relied upon by healthcare providers who are participating in some of these other programs, who are engaged in public health reporting to states, who are engaged in quality measurement, so that there's some assurance that when they are using those systems, that those systems are specifically meeting those types of requirements and needs. We do see that as a future goal to get to, and as a consideration that we are definitely taking into account as we're working through the process for US CDI Plus. Specifically to that, we think that, again, as we've mentioned, not everybody is using things in the same way. FHIR is not the universal solution to all things. We know this. We also have to meet people where they are and see what they're thinking about. And we think that the US CDI Plus construct, in the same way that the US CDI is, the US CDI has become the standard that is referenced among a whole suite of certification criteria. So we're trying to see if that model might be something that we should consider as we're looking at US CDI Plus as well.
Brian or Beth, do you guys want to take, so Annie Fine, who's from CFPE, she wants to know what types of systems are you thinking of certifying to?
I like this one. It's like I've got friends on the asking me great questions. This is a wonderful question. So everybody thinks of our program as certifying EHRs. But to be really clear, we certify health information technology. This was a really important change that we made. It's almost 10 years ago now, to change the name and structure of the program so that it wasn't just EHRs and it isn't just about what we affectionately call meaningful use, that has now had multiple names and is the EHR incentive program and promoting interoperability. So there's actually a wide range of different types of functionalities in our program that might be used by systems that are beyond the scope of what you think of as an in-practice EHR. And we think that that type of opportunity is going to continue to expand as those needs become less siloed, right? So a lot of folks were given incentive payments to buy their EHR in the first place, and that's sort of where all of these things started, but it's evolved over time, and those first off are no longer there, but on top of it, everybody else is kind of catching up. So the universe needs to be broader than what we think of as a static EHR. And this involves things like what Mickey was talking about earlier with cloud computing and modern solutions and thinking of ways that we can get outside the EHR box, so to speak. But it's also things like, we know that there are health information exchange organizations that are using certification criteria for different aspects of what they are supporting for their customers. We know that there are QCDRs, qualified clinical data registries, that have either used or have certified their own existing homegrown technology to support quality measurements. So we see this as being a potential for lots of different types of systems, and we're fairly agnostic to that. We think that we should serve the industry in whatever way the industry actually needs us to do to ensure that when systems are brought in, we're assuring that they're meeting these baseline standards that make them able to communicate with other systems. So it's a little broader than it used to be, but we think that that is an evolution that needed to happen, and we're trying to meet the industry need to make sure that it continues to happen.
I think the only other note I'd make about that is just that we'll be talking to all of you, I would expect, as we continue to have updates on that front. So I'm just seeing what else is in the chat. Is there anything about the earlier part of our work or anything that we didn't mention that anyone has a question about?
Ryan, do you want to answer this one just around like the testing and certification process? And has there been thought in standardizing the ONC approved test tools?
Well, I'm just trying to read it here. Yeah, so we have had some really nice success stories since the start of the pandemic using our Inferno testing platform and some of our other tools. For example, some of you were and are still involved in this work, but the SANER implementation guide for situational awareness for novel response. And so that was successful. We also have been working to leverage that tool to benefit smart scheduling, the smart scheduling spec, who again, some of you might have been a part of that, and we'll be resurfacing some of that work again in the coming months. But we are, the Inferno Community Edition is something that's very important and an important priority for ONC. So Samantha, we can take this one and we'll actually see how we can make sure to answer it in more detail at our next public session. And because it's a great question, and I can just say it's in process, I guess. And I don't know if you're not familiar with Zulip, depending on how interested you are, but Zulip is an awesome resource. And if you want to learn more about the challenges from the under the hood, deep under the hood on all the, I mean, in my opinion, it's just a great resource. And some of there's a few different channels where discussions about ONC approved test tools are available. But I'll stop rambling on. Beth and Katie and Rachel, what else on that question should we mention?
I think that covers it. There's a lot of really good work being done there to try and get those updates and make sure that it's continuing to meet the needs. So I think you nailed it.
Yeah, Samantha, we'll find the link and get it in there. Okay, on the question about the coordination, so we have two project officers, Forrest White and Craig Newman, who work within the HL7 organization. They are in part responsible for fielding questions to the helios@hl7.org email address. So that hopefully that answers your question. We're just here to make sure that we they help make sure that we get them what they need, and also of course are just doing a great job in standing something pretty surmountable up really quickly. We will absolutely make sure that no stone is left unturned where the coordination and alignment with any and all existing HL7 projects is concerned. That is, I believe, an important priority for the new leadership team over at HL7. I'm just scrolling again.
Ryan, I'm going to ask Paula Braun if she doesn't mind talking to Joel's question about the capabilities of STLT health departments and ensuring the use of data standards and tools that we describe, and how ready are they?
Yeah, it's a great question. And as you can imagine, there's multiple aspects to the data modernization initiative and numerous ways in which we're reaching out to our STLT partners to try to bolster their capabilities. And so Helios, which was one of the activities that we mentioned today, is really focused on a couple of different types of exchanges, such as exchanges from healthcare to public health, exchanges from public health to the public, and others that are prioritized by the Helios Accelerator with input from a wide array of partners. When we think about the complexities of what's needed to happen to bolster the capacity inside of an STLT health department, then there are other aspects of DMI that are helping to understand and work through and provide support for those types of exchanges. One of those is the Fire Test Collaborative, which I think Annie Fine had mentioned in her comments today. So that would be a combination where CDC is working jointly with ASTO, CST, and NACHO on helping to identify where these various health departments are in terms of their capabilities with fire, and what are some of the fundamental building blocks that could be reused across different types of use cases. So that way our STIL partners can help to migrate toward more cloud-based ways of processing information, more automated ways of processing information, using things like US CDI and other open standards for interoperability. We're at the very beginning stages of this. Some of the STLT partners are already well-versed and have some of this up into production and running. And so it's a really good opportunity to apply the see one, do one, teach one model, where we continue to cultivate joint learnings and continue to move people toward more open standard-based ways of enhancing their own systems and helping one another to get to that more advanced level of interoperability. That's not a silver bullet, but it is a hopeful starting point. We've seen a lot of interest in collaboration just at the nascent state that we're at with this. And we're hoping, should these prove to be useful to our STIL partners, that this could become an increasing, more common way of doing things and coordinating among CDC and states, locals, territories, and tribal partners. So it's one of the beginning things that we're doing. We realize that interoperability needs fall on a spectrum. There's some things that we'll want to continue to do to optimize what currently exists in production. And there are new capabilities that can help to complement and evolve what exists today. And we're working across that entire spectrum. Thank you for the question.
Thanks, Paula.
Ryan,
I'm
he
gonna
wanted to make a
point.
comment. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make a point that we're trying to surface all the resources that we can, and everyone learns differently, and everyone across the country, as we noted, and this is why we launched the Public Health Informatics and Technology Workforce Development Program, that some people don't know until they see things in action. Some people need to and have been working in this space for decades. And we feel very strongly that all of those perspectives and viewpoints and all of that expertise is really valuable, and that by bringing it together and by helping to take the learnings from the past to inform the future, that's the best way that we're going to all be able to move forward together. And that is our ONC goal and position, and our mission is to improve health outcomes and change people's lives. And it sounds, you know, maybe idealistic and overly optimistic to some, but that's our job. And so we're going to keep pushing and fighting, and we appreciate everyone's feedback, and we hope you'll continue to provide it. And for those who need help getting involved in everything from standards development and informatics to coordination and policy work, or who want to get involved with some of the programs I mentioned at the beginning of this session, please reach out to us. Let's go to the next slide to close it out. That has our contact information. The FIT program, we do have an active communities of practice where we're bringing the top minds to that group of awardees. So I would love to invite and make an open call to those of you who want to help shape the future to join us there as well. And with that, I will say FIT, PHIT, Public Health and Informatics Technology Workforce. So any final words from the team? Here's our info. So please be in touch, and we'll follow through on the commitments we made this afternoon. And thanks to all of you for everything that you're doing in your corners of the world. It's been a challenging few years. So thanks for making time out of your busy schedules to come join us today.
Yes, want to reiterate, and also excellent questions. Thank you so much for the dialogue. We really appreciate it.
Okay, with that, with 1 minute to spare, we will get the information out to everyone, and hope to and look forward to talking to you again very soon. Thank you so much.